Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I hope this finds you well and happy. I am so excited you are here. We are going to be working in the studio today on some fun DIYs. I have 5 Easter projects planned for us, so grab your coffees or your favorite beverage and let's get to creating. Okay guys, so for our very first project, we are going to create just a cute little framed art piece with Peter Rabbit. And I found this frame in my craft closet, so I'm just going to use this one, but you could use any frame that you have in any size that you want. And I'm going to just paint it with this apple barrel paint in just pure white. And I'm just using a chip brush, which I believe you can find these chip brushes just about at any craft store, as well as the paint. I got mine at Walmart, but you can get it at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Walmart, any craft store that carries these types of paints. And I'm just going to go over this entire frame with the white paint. And I'm going to let it dry pretty good before we go back and do the second coat. Okay, now I'm putting in the glass, and I'm not sure what happened to the original hardware for this frame, so I'm just going to hot glue mine in. You probably won't have to do this with your frame. I just want to make sure that it's in there really well. And now I'm going to distress it a little, and I'm just using an old nail file. And in hindsight, I probably should have done this before I put the glass back in, but it all worked out okay. So I would recommend that you probably distress your frame before putting the glass back in. Now I'm just going to clean it really well. Okay, so for this print that we're going to use in here, it's just a cute little print of Peter Rabbit that I found online just in the Google search. I will try to link that down below for you in case you want to print the same one, but you could print any print really that you wanted to use in here. And again, I'm just using hot glue to hold our print in. That's it for our first one. Easy peasy. For our second project, this one's probably my favorite, and you'll just need again some cardstock and then these wood trims. I found these, I think I got these ones at Michael's, but you could use any type of wood trim that you wanted to frame this little piece out, and I'm just marking it so that I know where to make the cuts. And we are going to go out to the shop to make these cuts, but before we head out, I just wanted to measure where we're going to drill our holes for our little rope hanger. I put these in the marks about 1.5 inches from the edges. Okay, and now I'm just going to use my chop saw. If you do not have a chop saw to cut these, you can actually use miter shears or just a little hand saw. Alright, back in the studio, I'm now just going to glue these on with some hot glue. Whew, that is some really hot glue. It actually melted through the cardstock a little bit and stuck to my workbench. I'm just going to glue the bottom piece on, and this one we won't be drilling holes in, just the top piece for our hanger. And I'm just going to trim up the excess pieces with an X-Acto knife. And it's a pretty sharp knife, so be careful. We don't want anybody to cut their fingers. Okay, and now we're going to drill our holes for the hanger. If you don't have a drill, you could just use hot glue to glue your hanger onto the back of this. And I'm just using some nautical rope. It was a little thicker than I would like to have used, but I didn't have my thin one. I didn't have any more. I ran out and forgot to buy some, I guess. I decided it was a little too long, so I'm just going to shorten it up a bit. And then I just kind of poof out the little ends. I like the frayed look. Our next project is going to be these cute little carrots that we're going to create just using an empty tin can, and I am painting it with folk art in the color, let's see, what is that color? I believe it is dove gray. And actually I decided I didn't really like that gray color, so I went back over this whole can with white. And you just want to make sure you cover the whole can. And then we are going to create some carrots just using the paper. I'm just using cardstock here, and I'm just going to roll them. And I don't know, y'all, I feel like this was a lot easier when we were in grade school to make paper cones. Some of these gave me a little bit of trouble. And I just used regular old tape to tape them up and then trim them up. And then I'm going to wrap each of them with jute cord, but you could wrap these with anything that you want. You could use yarn, you could use just rope, you could use twine, you could even use like strips of fabric. That would be cute too. And you could use traditional orange jute too if you wanted, which you can find at most craft stores like Hobby Lobby and Michael's. And then I just keep wrapping. And I seal it at the ends with hot glue. Next, we're going to put some little greeneries in the ends of each of these carrots. And this is just some faux boxwood that I found at Walmart. Walmart actually has a great selection of these little picks, and they're really inexpensive. I think this whole bunch was only $2. Okay, and now we have our 5 cute little carrots. So now I'm going to use some baking soda to mix with my paint because I really want to give this can a rusty look, like it's been sitting out in the elements. So I'm using folk art. I'm using a couple colors here. I'm going to use the folk art in the rust color. I'm also using metallic royal gold, and then I'm using some Waverly chalk paint in yellow. When I mix this with my baking soda, you kind of want the consistency to be pretty thick. Then we're just going to dab it on using a stippling brush, and I highly recommend using a stippling brush for this because you don't want it to have a brushed look, you want it to have a dabbed look. So I just dab this all over in kind of random crazy patterns. And now I'm going to use the metallic gold, which I also mixed with baking soda. And a little bit of yellow. The yellow is going to be like the lowlights in this. So I'll actually do the yellow first, and then we go over it with some gold. And again, I just dab it, and I'm using a little bit of a dry brush technique here too. So I just dab my brush in the paint and then wipe it off on the towel and then just dab on the can. Then we just keep dabbing, dabbing, dabbing. I did do this in several layers, so I let the layers dry really well before adding more. And this is the results. Doesn't that look really cool? Now I'm just gonna stuff this with some floral foam. I don't remember what size this foam block was, but it fit perfectly in that tin can. And then I'm just gonna go around and create a small base of greenery before we fill in with carrots. Okay, now I'm going to add the carrots, and I'm just using skewer sticks here, which you can cut with shears. You can use like miter shears, or I think I'm just using snips. And then I just added the carrots in kind of random patterns, and there we have it. Canned carrots. Okay, so our next project, we're just going to use a wood board. This wood board that I'm using is 22 inches long by 8 inches wide. And if you don't have one at home, you can buy these pre-cut at like Hobby Lobby. I've seen them at Hobby Lobby, and I've also seen them at Michael's. And then I just stained mine with a black paint that I watered down to create like that stained effect. And then I'm going to trace on our little bunny pattern, which I will link down below for you as a free printable. And you will have to print it in 2 pieces because he is 20 inches long. And I'm just using chalk to trace him on because my board was black. I didn't think I'd be able to see the pencil. Okay, and now we're going to start painting this cute little guy. I'm using Waverly chalk paint in the color Elephant Gray. And I'm just going to go in and paint in the lines, kind of like coloring in a coloring book. I did mess up my ear a little bit here. Y'all, I'm not sure what I did, but easy fix. We'll just cover up my little mistake with some paint and nobody will ever know. I just found the whole process of making this cute little guy so relaxing. It was actually therapeutic. We're just gonna keep filling him in until he's completely covered. And I do only do one coat on this because I wanted a little bit of that rustic look. But if that's not the look you like or want, just go ahead and use 2 coats. There is just something so therapeutic about painting. Okay, now I'm going to use some little half-round wood beads for his cute little eyes that I'm just painting in Coal Black by Waverly. It's a Waverly chalk paint. It's one of my favorite paints. I have a lot of Waverly colors in chalk paint. This was a little bit messy. By the time I finished this, y'all, my fingers were really black. So you might want to wear some gloves. Although it does wash off very, very easily. And this chalk paint is non-toxic, so I guess it's not too bad that we got it all over our fingers. Okay, now I am going to start working on painting his cute little nose and mouth, and I'm just using a small paintbrush here in that same Waverly black paint. I did draw it on first with a little pencil just so I could get it precise. I'm not very good at freehanding. Alright, now we'll just draw on his cute little mouth. It kind of looks like an upside down fish hook. And now I'm going to glue on the eyes. And if you guys don't have a hot glue gun, you could use just any glue. You could use tacky glue or wood glue. Even Elmer's glue would work. Okay, now I'm going to do a little distressing on him, and I'm just using a dry brush technique with my stipple brush. And I'm using black, but I'm also going to use a little bit of antiquing glaze in the color brown, I believe. And I just brushed this like just all over to give him a little texture and just a little bit of that distressed look. But then at the end, I did also go over this with a little light sandpaper, which I did not get on camera, and I apologize for that. He looks a little silly now, but after you go over it with some sandpaper, it blends all in and looks much, much better. Doesn't look so streaky. Okay, let's give this little guy some whiskers. I'm just using some jute string here that I cut into about 2.5-inch strips. And I laid them out kind of with the natural curve of the jute, just the way it came off the spool. And I'm just going to hot glue them on. I did go over these a little bit with just a tiny bit of black paint to kind of help him blend in with his little nose a little bit. And then we're going to make a cute little bow for him. And I just cut up some strips of just some scrap fabric that I had. But you could use anything to make this bow. You could use yarn or jute ribbon would be really cute too, or wired ribbon. I actually wish I would have had some wired ribbon. It would have made this a little bit easier, but I did not have any on hand. And I just wanted it to be a double bow, so I just folded 2 pieces together and then tied it off to make the little tails. We do a lot of fluffing, and I had all these extra pieces from folding it over so thick, so I just cut those off. And then we'll just keep fluffing it up until we get it the way we want it. Then I just use some hot glue to glue it right on. A little bit more fluffing. Then I'm just going to cut these little tail pieces at an angle. You could cut them in a chevron too if you prefer that look. Okay, so guys, I'm just gonna be honest. After all the fussing that I did over this bow, I ended up hating it, and I changed it out for this more simple jute bow that I just used the finger bow method to create, and I liked it a lot better. I felt like it was a little more simple. Which one do you guys like better? The fabric bow or the jute bow? Okay, for our last project, we are going to make this cute little spindle rabbit. And I found this spindle at Lowe's in the yard and garden section, and I'm just going to cut off the end of it. And then we're going to need a big wooden egg for his head that I found at Michael's. And I'm going to glue this on with some E6000. And I just add some glue to both the bottom of the head and the spindle. I did have some issues getting it on straight, but finally got there. Okay, so then we're going to set that aside to dry, and while that glue is setting up, we're going to work on his little bunny ears. And I am cutting mine out of wood, but if you do not have a scroll saw at home, you can make these bunny ears out of fabric, or felt would be cute, or you could even use just some wired ribbon. And I'll link the pattern down below for his little ears also for you. Okay, now we'll go over to the scroll saw and cut these little ears out. I really enjoy cutting things out on the scroll saw. I also find this kind of therapeutic sometimes when the scroll saw is being friendly, which it was today. We don't always get along. It does take some patience and some finesse to cut these things out. I make it look easy here, but I was in real time going much, much slower. Okay, next we're going to create some little, I wanted his ears to have like some depth to them. So I took this little grinder, and y'all, this was the first time I've ever used this tool and tried to do something like this. And to be perfectly honest, it didn't turn out so well, but I went with it anyway. And then I'm just gonna give him a good sanding. Kind of round off some of the edges a little bit. Excuse me. I have a little bit of a spring cold coming on. Okay, now here's where things kind of went a little awry. So I got a little impatient and didn't let that E6000 glue set up enough before I attempted to glue his ears on, and this is what happened. Yep. But all is well. We will just wipe off that E6000 and use some hot glue to attach his head to the spindle. Okay, now we'll give this little guy some eyes, and I'm just using some 1/8 inch half round wooden beads here. And they are a little fiddly. So after I get those hot glued on, we can get this guy painted. And I'm just using some Behr brand paint here in the color Smoky Gray. And I got this at Home Depot, this color paint. I'm just using a chip brush to paint on the paint and just giving him a full cover everywhere. And I did use 2 coats of paint on this little guy. I'm trying to figure out here where to hold on to him so I don't get paint all over my fingers, but you know, y'all, it wouldn't be crafting if we didn't get paint all over. And then we're just going to give him a simple little finger bow, and I made this out of just some gray ribbon that I had. Give it a little fluffing up, and this guy is all finished. So cute.
Y'all, that was so much fun. Thank you for hanging out with me today. I really enjoyed creating together. I was just sitting here trying to decide which one was my favorite, and I don't think I can choose. They all turned out kind of cute. Let me know in the comments below which was your favorite. If you enjoyed today's video, I hope that you'll consider subscribing, give me a big thumbs up, and I look forward to spending time together again next week as we're gonna do some Easter decorating and implement all of the projects that we made today into our decor. See y'all next week. Bye.